Hey everybody, I'm JJ, you're watching Reality Survival. And so today we're going to talk about the beaver fever. Don't worry ladies, it's not what you think. Alright, so I got this information from Mayo Clinic. And basically this is going to be talking all about Giardia infection. Now I know this is extremely exciting information, but you really should listen to it because Giardia is a primary way that people could get sick in an SHTF situation. In a situation where you're having to go to open groundwater sources and having to get your water from groundwater instead of getting it from, treated, city water and all that kind of stuff, then you could be very potentially end up getting Giardia. And it's pretty bad stuff. It's pretty nasty stuff. So with that, let me go get right into this. I've got some notes here that I'm following that I've made from the website. And I'll put the website down in the description below so you can take a look at it and do additional research on your own. I'm not trying to give medical advice or anything like that. I'm just giving you an overview of what Giardia is, how it can affect you, and some of the ways you can treat it and some of the ways you can keep from getting it, okay? So Giardia infection is an intestinal infection marked by stomach cramps, bloating, nausea, and bouts of watery diarrhea. Some people like to say it's explosive diarrhea when you get a bad case. Giardia infection is caused by a microscopic parasite that is found worldwide, especially in areas with poor sanitation and unsafe water. Giardia infection, or giardiasis, is one of the most common causes of waterborne disease in the United States. The parasites are found in backcountry streams and lakes and also in public water supplies. Didn't know that. Swimming pools, whirlpools, spas, and wells. Giardia infection can be spread through food and person-to-person contact. Giardia infections usually clear up within a few weeks, but you may have intestinal problems long after the parasites are gone. Several drugs are generally effective against Giardia parasites, but not everyone responds to them. Prevention is your best defense. So what are the symptoms of Giardia? Some people with Giardia infection never develop signs or symptoms, but they still carry the parasite and they can spread it to others through their stool. For those who do get sick, signs and symptoms usually appear 1 to 3 weeks after exposure, and those symptoms may include watery, sometimes foul-smelling diarrhea.
Oh, hell no!
Now, what diarrhea doesn't smell foul? Anyway, okay. Watery, sometimes foul-smelling diarrhea that may alternate with soft, greasy stools. Fatigue, stomach cramps and bloating, gas, nausea, and weight loss. Signs and symptoms of Giardia infection may last 2 to 6 weeks, but in some people, they may last longer or reoccur. When to see a doctor? Call your doctor if you have loose stools, stomach cramping and bloating, and nausea lasting more than a week, or if you become dehydrated. Be sure to tell your doctor if you are at risk of Giardia infection, that is, you have a child in child care, or you've recently traveled to an area where infection is common, or you've swallowed water from a lake or a stream. Now, in an SHTF situation, you're going to need to be able to treat this yourself, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. Causes. Giardia parasites live in the intestines of people and animals. Beavers are a common carrier. That is why we talked about beaver fever. Giardia pesticides, before the microscopic parasites are passed in a stool, they become encased within hard shells called cysts, which allow them to survive outside the intestines for months. Once inside a host, the cysts can dissolve and then parasites are released. Infection occurs when you accidentally swallow the parasite cysts. This can occur by swallowing unsafe water, by eating infected food, or through person-to-person contact. Swallowing contaminated water. The most common way to become infected with Giardia is after swallowing unsafe contaminated water. Giardia parasites are found in lakes, ponds, rivers, streams worldwide, as well as in public water supplies. I think they're mostly talking about public water supplies in bad areas where the water's not so good. Not usually in developed nations. Wells, cisterns, swimming pools, water parks, and spas. Ground and surface water can become infected with Giardia from agricultural runoff, wastewater discharge, or animal feces. Children in diapers and people with diarrhea may accidentally contaminate pools or spas. Sorry. I'm just picturing that contamination. Anyway, poo humor, guys, Anyway, all right, eating contaminated food. Giardia parasites can be spread through food either because food handlers with Giardia infection don't wash their hands thoroughly or because raw produce is irrigated or washed with unsafe contaminated water. Because cooking food kills Giardia, food is a less common source of infection than water is, especially in industrialized countries. Person-to-person contact. You can get infected with Giardia if your hands become dirty with feces. Parents changing a child's diapers are especially at risk, so are childcare workers and children in childcare centers where outbreaks are increasingly common. The Giardia parasite can also spread through anal sex.
Surprise, but sex.
All right. Risk factors. Giardia parasite is very common intestinal parasite. Although anyone can pick up Giardia parasites, some people who are especially at risk are children. Giardia infection is far more common in children than it is in adults. Children are more likely to come in contact with feces, especially if they wear diapers, are toilet training, or spend time in childcare center. People who live or work with small children are at a higher risk of developing Giardia infection. People without access to safe drinking water. Again, this might be, in a grid down kind of situation or something like that. Giardia infection is rampant whenever sanitation is inadequate or water isn't safe to drink. You are at risk if you travel to places where Giardia infection is common, especially if you aren't careful about what you eat and drink. The risk is greatest in rural or wilderness areas. Then they also have a category for people who have anal sex. People who have anal sex or oral anal sex.
Oh, that's nasty.
I'm trying to figure out how that works. Without using a condom or other protection, are increased risk of Giardia infection as well as sexually transmitted infections. Complications. Giardia infection is almost never fatal in industrialized countries, but it can cause lingering symptoms and serious complications, especially in infants and children. The most common complications include dehydration. Often a result of severe diarrhea, dehydration occurs when the body doesn't have enough water to carry out its normal functions. Failure to thrive. Chronic diarrhea from Giardia infection can lead to malnutrition and harm children's physical and mental impairment. Lactose intolerance. Many people with Giardia infection develop lactose intolerance, the inability to properly digest milk sugar. The problem may persist long after the infection has cleared. Okay, prevention. No drug or vaccine can prevent Giardia infection, but common sense precautions can go a long way towards reducing chances that you'll become infected or spread the infection to others. First, wash your hands. It's kind of like a basic thing. Just wash your hands. Everybody should wash their hands, right? This is the simplest and best way to prevent most kinds of infection. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds after using the toilet or changing diapers, and before eating or preparing food. When soap and water aren't available, you can use alcohol-based sanitizers. However, alcohol-based sanitizers aren't effective in destroying the cyst form of Giardia that survives in the environment. Purify wilderness water. This is the one that's probably most applicable in our situation. Avoid drinking untreated water from shallow wells, lakes, rivers, springs, ponds, and streams unless you filter it or boil it for at least, they say, 10 minutes at 158 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that irritates me. water boils at 212 degrees, well, at sea level, I guess. So they're saying at least pasteurize it. 10 minutes at 158 degrees will pasteurize it. It's not actually boiling. Anyway, whatever. Bring the water to a good hard boil, and that's all you need to do. If you want to be super safe, you can go for a minute or 3, but 10 minutes is not necessary for boiling. Anyway, wash produce. Wash any raw fruits and vegetables with unsafe. Try that again. Wash produce. Wash any raw fruits and vegetables with safe, uncontaminated water. Peel the fruit before eating it, and avoid eating raw fruits or vegetables if traveling in countries where they may have come in contact with unsafe water. Keep your mouth closed. Try not to swallow water when swimming in pools, lakes, and streams. Use bottled water when traveling to parts of the world where the water supply is likely to be unsafe. Drink and brush your teeth with the bottled water that you open yourself. Don't use ice when traveling. Practice safer sex. If you engage in anal sex, use a condom every time. Avoid oral anal sex unless you're fully protected. Oral? Oh. Don't eat that. Sorry, it took me a minute. All right, diagnosis. That's just nasty. Anyway, diagnosis. To help diagnose Giardia infection, your doctor is likely to test a sample of your stool. For accuracy, you may be asked to submit several stool samples collected over a period of days. The samples are then examined in the lab for presence of parasites. Stool tests may also be used to monitor effectiveness of any treatment you receive. Treatment. We're almost done. Treatment here. Children and adults who have Giardia infection without symptoms usually don't need treatment unless they're likely to spread the parasites. Many people who do have problems often get better on their own in a few weeks. When signs and symptoms are severe or infection persists, doctors usually treat Giardia infection with medications such as metronidazole or Flagyl. Metronidazole, I don't even know how to say that, is most commonly used antibiotic for Giardia infection. Side effects may incur nausea and metallic taste in the mouth. Don't drink alcohol while taking this medication. And there's also teniodazole or Tendamax and nitazoxanide or Alinea. Note, there are no consistently recommended medications for Giardia infection in pregnancy because of the potential harmful effects of the drug to the fetus. If your symptoms are mild, your doctor may recommend delaying treatment until after the first trimester or longer. If treatment is necessary, discuss the best available treatment with your doctor. Now, obviously, if we're in a grid down situation, you might not have access to a doctor. And it might be difficult to go to a hospital for treatment or something along those lines. However, metronidazole is one of the 5 infections that come in the emergency antibiotic pack of medicines that's offered by Jase Medical. As you guys know, I'm an affiliate with Jase Medical, and they have a pack of 5 different antibiotics that you can get prescribed from an actual medical doctor and a real pharmacy in Utah. And their emergency antibiotic pack comes with the following medications. Comes with amoxicillin-clavulanate, azithromycin, ciprofloxacin, doxycycline, and metronidazole. Some of the infections that are treated by these antibiotics include anthrax, plague, and tularemia from bioterrorism incidents, bite wounds, cellulitis, diverticulitis, intra-abdominal infections, tooth infections, ear infections, pneumonia, sinusitis, strep throat, urinary tract infection, traveler's diarrhea or Giardia, cholera, osteomyelitis, prostatitis, salmonella, Lyme disease, malaria, Q fever, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, chlamydia, amoebiasis, bacterial vaginosis, and pelvic inflammatory disease. So, how long can you store the medications from Jase Medical? Some people might want to know that. That might be something you guys be asking yourself. And it says that most antibiotics will come with a manufacturer's expiration date between 2 and 3 years from the date of manufacture. The maximum shelf life for medications, or to maximize shelf life, your medications should be stored in airtight containers in a cool, dry environment. Under proper storage conditions, antibiotic expiration dates can be extended for a minimum of an additional 5 years, and studies have shown that when stored in a dry, cool environment, these types of medications retain greater than 90% of their potency after 20 years. So that's pretty cool. You also need to make sure that you have the ability to treat your water to remove Giardia and other waterborne pathogens. And there's a few different things you need to think about. If you're in the field, I highly recommend that you get the Katadyn Pocket water filter. I'll put a link below. That's the best water filter on the market, in my opinion. Also, if you're in your home, like during an SHTF situation or something like that, I recommend the Alexa Pure Pro water filter. I think it's the best one on the market, given all the factors, everything that it takes out, the sturdy and durability of it, sturdiness and durability. Over all those factors, I think they're the best one. You can get discounted prices at those at realitysurvivalfood.com. I'll throw a link down in the description below. And if you have a well, I recommend that you get the new Aqua 7-stage reverse osmosis water filter system. I'll put a link down in the description below. I've done a video on it in the past. You guys know that I have that in my house. I think all of those are excellent ways to make sure that you are safe from waterborne illness. It's important to know these things, and I would recommend that you guys take a look at those different items and learn more about this topic, so that if you ever have a situation where a family member or a child or somebody like that gets sick, then you know how to treat them. You can know, what to do to take care of them and all that. Doc Bones and Nurse Amy also have a great book, doomandbloom.net, that will talk about dosages and all that kind of stuff as far as how much to take for different things and all that. Really good book. I own a copy of it personally, and I recommend that you guys do as well. So the key thing here is that information didn't make Giardia sound like it was a real terrible situation, because the article assumes that you are in a place where you can get medical treatment. If you're in an SHTF situation, Giardia can be a very serious situation because you might not be able to get medical treatment. And if you can't get it, that 2 to 6 week period when you're infected can really be hell. Especially if you're already having a hard time having enough water intake and getting out and doing the things that you're supposed to do and all that kind of stuff, getting work done and everything like that. It can be a real nightmare, especially if you're in an environment with limited toilet paper and all that kind of stuff. So you really need to think about prevention, really need to think about making sure that you got a good solid way to get your water filtered and to make sure that it's going to be safe to drink. And that's why I recommend those 3 filters. Those are really very, very high quality, excellent filters. And if you have those, you're not going to go wrong. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button, when you share it with your friends. If you're new to the channel, which 90% of people watching this video are, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified each time we upload a new video. If you got any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, don't forget to live the 6 Ps. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe, guys.